All right, this is lesson 1-1 and statistics, intro to stats. First thing we're going to talk about are variables and distributions. We live in a world of data. Every day we encounter data from specific studies to poll results, to test scores, to analysis about sports. To understand what the data is saying, you need to learn more about statistics. An understanding of statistics will help you make good decisions based on data. Statistics is the science and art of collecting, analyzing, and drawing conclusions from data. Okay, so here's the sample data table. It's about roller coasters. It has the type, the height, the design, the speed, and the duration of the roller coaster. So this is stats on roller coasters. Okay, so what is an individual? Well, you have to know this definition right here. An individual is a person, an animal, or thing described in the set of data. So in this case, what is the individual? It's roller coasters. Okay. A variable is an attribute that takes that different value for the different individuals. Okay. So attributes, all of these columns are attributes about the roller coaster. Okay. They are all descriptors of what the individual is. So like we said, a variable can be any attribute that takes on different values for the different individuals. And so we break it down further. There are two kinds of variables. One is a categorical variable. It assigns labels that places individuals into particular groups. Usually these are labels that are non-numerical, like male, female, married, single, sophomore, junior, senior. Those types of variables are categorical. Quantitative variable takes a number value for which it makes sense to find an average. So quantitative variable, height, weight, how many hours of sleep, how many hours you work, those are all quantitative variables, okay? So numerical values that can be averaged are quantitative. So what's a non-quantitative variable that's a number? Like a zip code. Nobody averages a zip code, but they're numbers, right? So it's not quantitative. It can't be averaged. All right, so if we look back at our table about roller coasters, here's our individuals over here, the farthest left column, and we look at our individual columns. The type of roller coaster, these are all descriptors that are words, not numbers, so it's categorical. Height is a number, and it's averageable, so we consider that quantitative. Design is either sit down or inverted. That's definitely categorical. Speed is a number, can be averaged, so it's quantitative. Duration is the length, can be averaged, so it's quantitative. All right, so in the videos, I'm going to walk you through examples, just exactly like what you're going to find on your homework, your tests, and your quizzes. So do not skip over these. Make sure you listen to them and listen to the logic that we put into them as we work it. Don't just play the video and look at what I write. Turn the volume off. Listen, please. Okay? So, example 1. According to the Internet Movie Database, Avatar is tops on the box office receipts worldwide. The table displays data on several popular movies. Identify the individuals and the variables in this data set. Then, classify each variable as categorical or quantitative. All right, so the first thing we need to do is identify the individuals. So the individuals, okay, what is it that all of these things right here describe? Well, they describe movies, okay? They describe movies. So what are the variables? Okay? Each of these columns now is a variable. The year is a variable. The rating is a variable. The time is a variable. Genre is a variable. And the box office money it made is a variable. Now the next thing it says to do is classify each variable as categorical or quantitative. So year would be quantitative, because I can average that. Rating, that's categorical. So I'm going to put C for that. Time, It's quantitative. It's a length that can be averaged. Genre is definitely words, so it's categorical. Box office money, numbers, it definitely can be averaged. So this would be quantitative. Now, a variable generally takes values that vary from one individual to another. The distribution of the variable describes the pattern of the variation of these values. And this is a new word that we will use a lot in stats. So make sure you write this down. The distribution of a variable tells us what values the variable takes on and how often it takes place. Okay? So like types of movies. There's action movies. How many times is an action movie made? Or comedy, or romantic comedy, or whatever. Those are all, we're looking at how often does that happen. Now we can summarize a variable's distribution with a frequency table or what's called a relative frequency table. A frequency table shows the count of individuals having each data value. A relative frequency table shows the proportion or the percent of the individuals having each data value. And it's really easy to make. You make your frequency table first and then you basically find the percentages and that makes up your relative frequency table. Let's try one of these. That's example 2. An online survey asked which superpower students would choose to have: fly, freeze time, invisibility, super strength, or telepathy, the ability to read minds. Here are the responses from 40 students in this sample. Summarize the distribution of superpower preference with a frequency table and a relative frequency table. All right, so first thing I want to do is list out all the different types that we have. We have fly, we have freeze time, telepathy, and we have invisibility. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is tabulate how many times do I see fly. So I'm going to count them and mark it, okay? 14. All right, then we're going to do the same thing with freeze time. How many times do we see freeze time? See it 7 times. All right, next is telepathy. So 11 telepathies. Next is invisibility. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 invisibilities, and super strength must be left. What's left? 1, 2, 3. All right, so there's 3. Now, so this is the frequency. Okay, frequency is just how many times did fly show up? How many times did freeze time show up? Now, for relative frequency, what I'm going to do is take 14 and divide it by 40 and get a percent. Then I'll take 7 and divide by 40, get a percent, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's all you have to do to make a relative frequency table. I get 35, I get 17.27, 12.5%, not least is 7.5%. So this, if I needed a title for this column, this would be the relative frequency. Okay, that's just making the percentage. That's all it is. All right, and that's the kind of problems you're going to see is on your homework and stuff. Hopefully you have a good idea of what's going on, and if you have any questions, we'll talk about it in class.